They're finally here. The Oscars are this week, which means that we have to predict them because that's just, what we do. So yesterday, Thomas and I live streamed all of our predictions and argued with our chat. But if you don't want to watch us go off on tangents and struggle with microphones, how am I now? Testing. Here is everything you need to know for predicting the Oscars. Guys, this is crazy. I think Oppenheimer is going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to just add it to my Best Picture winners ranked list anyway. Just now. I did it last year with Everything Everywhere. Wasn't burned by it, funnily enough.
There's really no conversation to even be had at this point. It's just a massive sweep. It's just a massive sweep, just like last year was a massive sweep. Yeah. Easy. Would you look at that? I think it's going to be Christopher Nolan.
And it would be a deserving one as well. I think he does deserve an Oscar for his career.
Right, yeah. I'm not even the biggest Christopher Nolan fan. I've made that very known this season. But I do think that Oppenheimer is, it's phenomenal.
And it's one of his best.
I think it's his best film.
It's definitely pushing it. I think it might honestly be his best film.
Yeah, no, I agree. You think Zone of Interest could sneak in? No, I don't think so. I think that those articles just came from people being bored, if I'm being completely honest.
She's taking it.
I think she's taking it. I really genuinely think that Lily Gladstone is winning this. If we're okay, this is gonna be the first one that we actually have to have a conversation about.
Yeah.
Looking at this category, so we basically have to ask, BAFTA and SAG were exactly the same except for Best Actress. They both went for Killing, they both went for Divine, they both went for RDJ. So, because of that, it means that one of them is going to go 4 unless, Carey Mulligan wins the Oscar completely for no reason, right? It's obviously going to be Emma Stone, Lily Gladstone, one of those two. So we have to ask who's going to go 4, SAG or BAFTA. Well, SAG has went 4 the last 2 years. So far this decade, I think that they are 10 of 12. And BAFTA's 7 of 12, I want to say, so slightly better. When BAFTA and SAG have split the Best Actress category since 2000, since BAFTA became a precursor in 2000, right? It's went 7 times to SAG, 5 times to BAFTA. The other massive thing is, I can't remember the exact thing, but it's been a while and very consistently, the person who wins the last ceremony, the last televised ceremony, whether it was SAG or BAFTA, goes on to win the Oscar. It is very, very strong for the Best Actress category to win the last ceremony. And that is why I do think that it is going to be Lily Gladstone. Because, if you look at stats, they're close, but they do lean in Lily's direction. If you look at narrative, Lily has the biggest narrative in the category. Emma Stone has basically no narrative. So I think that when you're judging Oscar predictions, you got to look at stats, narrative, and then vibes.
Yeah.
And I do think that stats and narratives lean, even if slightly with stats, I do think that they lean in Lily's direction. Narrative obviously leans in the direction of Lily. So
yeah, I don't know if vibes would maybe lean in Emma Stone's favor just by being a big name in a big performance. Whereas Lily is a lesser known name in a much subtler performance. So I do think she may take the game out, but I agree. The stats you mentioned, sure. For me, it's more of just a gut thing. Can I see Emma Stone winning another Oscar? Potentially. Do I just think it's more likely for Lily Gladstone to win? Yes. And a lot of what, especially towards the end, because we're obviously thinking about it in terms of what would we just feel makes sense to win. I think a lot of Oscar voters think in the same way, what just feels right to vote for. And I think Lily Gladstone is a performance that feels right to vote for at this moment. And if she could overcome SAG, who famously often go for showier performances, I think that's fine. Emma Stone really does remind me of Cate Blanchett from last year. Lily Gladstone doesn't remind me of Michelle Yeoh. It's a different sort of thing. But Emma Stone, especially in the way she's been marketing herself in terms of talking about awards, yes, she is the face of a film. But so is Lily Gladstone. She seems to have elevated herself to the position where you think about killers, you think about Lily Gladstone at this point.
Yeah, she's really the face of the film.
Exactly. So I think with all of those things combined, it just kind of makes sense for it to be Lily at this point.
Yeah, so I want to address a couple things in the chat. Somebody said, where was it? Was BAFTA the last ceremony for the McDormand and Hopkins year? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The other thing is that someone said that her missing BAFTA they felt hurt. So one, missing BAFTA and going on to win the Oscar, that has happened plenty of times so far since the year 2000.
Even.
I mean,
Yeah.
Chastain, and obviously that's a weird scenario because, like, you know, like there were no
None of
nominees,
them.
but still, like,
Still.
that is the case. And there were people, I'm looking at Sandra Bullock is one, who didn't get the BAFTA nomination and went on to win the Oscar. Like, it does happen, and it can happen. There's two other examples that it happened since 2000 that I can't think of. But, like, obviously, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. And also, people like Sandra Bullock, that happened when the full field was done by popular vote. This is a year where they obviously didn't love Killers of the Flower Moon at the BAFTAs, and they how they do the system, it's only the top 3 popular vote get in, and then the other 3 are jury pick. I think that if all 6 were done by popular vote, Lily Gladstone gets the BAFTA nomination.
Yeah, 100%.
And like she just does. So I don't want to base an Oscar prediction off of a jury that we don't know how big or small it is not going for her as one of their 3 selections. Like, I don't think that really makes sense, because, like, okay, maybe she was 4th, 5th, 6th in popular voting. We don't know how many people got nominated for the BAFTA and were just in like 4th or 5th place that then went on to win the Oscar. Like, that's probably happened plenty of times, but we don't know because we don't have the order as far as nomination voting. So I really don't think that missing BAFTA is an issue at all, to be honest.
No, I think the biggest issue for Lily Gladstone is, as I say, the subtlety of performance, the lack of screen time, it's actual just performance.
The lack of name, right?
Itself, exactly. I think awards and statistics and how she's been doing all season, and as you say, the momentum, I think it's all pointing to her. And therefore, I think, and there are still a lot of people that, even though the performance is subtle, it is their favorite performance of the year. I know
it's my favorite performance of the year, period.
Exactly.
Like,
so, and I'm sure other people will feel similarly to you. So, yeah, I think it just makes sense to go with Lily at this point, really.
So these other acting categories aren't interesting at all. Best actor, it's just Cillian Murphy. I know some people are still holding on to Paul, but, like,
as much as I'd like to see it be Paul, he lost to SAG.
Yeah.
That
Cillian took SAG and BAFTA. It's just easy now. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Critics' Choice was just a random one-off. Supporting categories, I mean, we just had straight up sweeps across the board. Divine to Randolph.
Same all year. Exactly.
Swept.
Same.
Easy. Nothing really to whatever. Divine's just winning. I mean, I think that she's the best in this category. It is a pretty weak category, but she's the best in this category. So, supporting actor, again, very obviously, swept the entire season. It's just Robert Downey Jr. Like,
exactly.
There's no competition.
It'll just be another one in the big tally of wins Oppenheimer picks up.
Yeah. No. So, yeah, I mean, we're just locking in SAG going for 4, as we said, which is, like, they did it the last 2 years. There's no reason to say that they won't do it again. So, American Fiction just won USC Scripter. It looks like American Fiction is just taking it. Like,
yeah. This is one where I think the BAFTA win does help, even though crossover's not massive.
Yeah.
The fact that they still singled out the screenplay specifically suggests a strength within this category. It's a writer-director, which is good. It's a type of screenplay that they tend to like, they tend to go for. There's a lot of things going in favor of American Fiction here.
Yeah, I mean, so I kind of want to talk about both screenplay categories at the same time, because original screenplay, everything seems to be pointing towards Anatomy of Fall, which would be amazing and, like, one of the best winners, like, ever,
100%.
if we're being completely honest. Just in my mind, I feel like there's a world where we get an upset. I don't know where, like, and don't get me wrong, I'm predicting American Fiction Anatomy of Fall. I think that, don't try to go crazy. American Fiction and Anatomy of a Fall, they make the most sense, right? Just statistically, they've been winning the most things. They've been taking the most precursors. It feels obvious. However, and this is just the vibes thing, like, the screenplay combo of Anatomy of Fall and American Fiction just doesn't entirely check out to me. I don't know where it would come from. I don't know if we'd see, like, a random holdovers. I don't know if we could see, like, you know, if they want to go head over heels for Oppenheimer. If, like, maybe, I mean, we've never seen Barbie go up against American Fiction. If we could see a random shock Barbie win. Like, I think that those are all very small percentage things, and I'm not going to be predicting against American Fiction Anatomy of Fall. But I wouldn't call these categories locked in the same way that I think, like, picture, director, actor, supporting actor, and supporting actress, those are locked. I think that these are very strong with Anatomy of Fall and American Fiction, but I wouldn't call them locks at this point.
No, what I think really confirmed Anatomy for me was the director nom as well.
Yeah, that's
It
huge.
suggests that there is a large contingent of people in the Academy.
I mean, it's the only film in the category with a director nom.
Exactly, and then it won BAFTA and then it won the Globes as well. So I do feel fairly comfortable in Anatomy of a Fall, even though like maybe there's a lot of holdovers love within the Academy. I don't know. I would just bank on Anatomy of a Fall at this point. Adapt is a little harder. There is a case to be made that maybe they, despite all odds, go for Oppenheimer just because it's the best picture one. Maybe that is a possibility.
That's the one.
And in Barbie, there are some cases for it. I don't know. It's an unconvincing argument for me that Barbie would randomly take it. That would feel very random at this stage. But yeah, as you say, I think American Fiction is the right thing to do. There's a lot of signs pointing towards it, and not many saying.
Again, these are the obvious choices. These are the clear, obvious choices. It is again just a vibes thing where something in my head doesn't compute. Like I just picturing them saying Anatomy of a Fall in American Fiction, and I'm just a little bit.
They don't necessarily make sense as a pair, which is maybe the problem. Like it's a weird sort of.
I feel like usually they kind of make sense as a pair. Like usually there's a cohesive vibe for the screenplay winners.
Belfast and Coda, like sure,
makes sense. Like I mean, even last year, like Women Talking, Everything Ever All at Once. Like I don't know, they feel like they have a similar like.
Everything Everywhere and All Quiet.
Or right, Everything Ever All Quiet. Like that didn't make sense. Like I don't know, and there's no way to quantify this. But
no, this is complete.
It's complete vibes based, but off of complete vibes based. Anatomy of a Fall in American Fiction doesn't feel right, but I think that you'd also be stupid to not predict those two at this point.
Exactly.
Okay, cinematography. This is just obvious. Oppenheimer swept everywhere, winning the Oppenheimer vs. Christmas Tech. Costumes. Okay, I kind of want to talk about costumes and production design joint here. Where's production design? There it is. Okay, I agree with Gold Derby. I have Barbie winning both of these. I know that Poor Things took the ADG, or I think it's, ADG. But why I'm going with Barbie for both costumes and production design is one, names. These tech categories are very clicky, and they like their names. So Barbie has like multiple time winners, nominees, all these types of things. Poor Things, I believe, are first time nominees for both who have very few credits. So I do think that leans towards Barbie, but the one example that I'd make is 2018. The Favorite wins the BAFTA for costumes and production design. Then it goes on to lose the Oscar to Critics' Choice winner Black Panther in both categories, which is the big populist blockbuster film. Another another Yorgos movie losing these categories to the big blockbuster populist film with more names behind it. And Critics' Choice is historically better at predicting both these categories. So I'm leaning Barbie to take both here, and I do think that Poor Things is just going to get shut out, a la like Elvis last year. I think that is
kind of makes sense to be, few segs. But yeah, I think Barbie really makes sense for me just based on the pop culture nature of it. Like it's a film about costumes in many ways. Like you see the scenes of costumes being thrown out the window, etc., etc. Barbie, when you think of the film, you think about Barbie Land, and that is all created through production design. So I just think, whereas Poor Things, there's a lot going on, whereas Barbie, it's so focused on very stylized costumes, very stylized production design, that you can't help but think about it when you're voting, I don't think.
Yeah. And I know people are bringing up Poor Things being Barbie at ADG. I will say, I think if there is a split, it's Barbie takes costumes, Poor Things takes production design. I don't think that Poor Things is winning both. I really don't think that Poor Things is winning both.
No, I don't think Poor Things would win costumes. That would feel weird.
Yeah, I don't think that Poor Things is winning costumes.
Maybe. But as I say, like BAFTA's clearly liked Poor Things. That's maybe why they chose to do it.
Right, but again, it isn't even as strong as The Favorite was. Like, it didn't win Screenplay. It didn't win Best British Film. Like, I don't know. I think, again, if there's a split, it's costumes, Barbie, production design, Poor Things. But I am leaning towards Barbie taking both and Poor Things just getting shut out. Editing, here's an easy one. It should be this, but it's Oppenheimer.
Yes, obviously Oppenheimer is going to be taking this category, and fair enough. Deserving.
I mean, yeah, it's still fantastic. It's still fantastic.
Exactly.
Best makeup and hairstyling. Okay, so I could see a Poor Things upset here, but again, it feels like I'm going to keep on comparing it to The Favorite, right? Like, Favorite wins makeup, right? All these types. I'm pretty sure won makeup at the BAFTA, but I don't think that Maestro needs Bradley or Carey to win, because obviously they aren't. I don't think it needs that to happen. I do think it will just be fine, and it will just be Vice, and just take
Yeah,
makeup for the big transformation. And I think that is just fine. Like, again, I can see where it's people are coming from with Poor Things, because it did win the BAFTA in the Critics' Choice, and Maestro has been underperforming. But like, it's just the most Academy thing ever to go for Maestro. Like, that's just what the
it
Academy will
is.
do. It should be Poor
It is
Things. I would vote
definitely.
for Poor Things here.
But it's got with biopic makeup. They love a bit of biopic makeup,
Yeah.
and they tend to prefer it to this kind of fantastical stuff. So it just kind of makes sense if you're looking at exclusively based on the films in question and looking not necessarily at the award. Like, it just makes so much more sense for Maestro to win over Poor Things.
Also brought up in chat, Maestro won the special effects makeup award at the Makeup Guild Award. Like, that is the important one. They like their
Yeah,
prosthetics. They like their special effects makeup. Makes sense. I don't know. I think it has it. I do think it has it. Score. Oh, look, it's an easy one. Oppenheimer.
yeah. Here we go,
Ta-da.
Oppenheimer. Yeah, well, Oppenheimer's just taken so many awards this year, but
Yeah.
it's become a juggernaut.
Song. I feel like the Grammys honestly cleared this one up. What was I made for? One best song, just period. Not best song in, like, visual media or anything like that. It just won best song at the Grammys.
Yeah,
And there is some crossover between, like, the music branch of the Academy and Grammy voters. It isn't a lot, but yeah, I just it's just what was I made for. They love Billy. Like,
exactly. All the arguments you're making about I'm Just Ken as well, like, oh, it was such an important part of the film. It was during the film. It wasn't a credits film. These arguments also
exact
apply
same
to
thing.
What Was I Made For. So yeah, I just think it might take this one. I'll be very excited to see Ryan Gosling perform it at the
Yeah.
Oscars. That would be a lot of fun. But unfortunately, it won't take the award. It won't take the award.
Sound. Uh, this is where I'm taking a swing. I talked about earlier, there is a lot of zone of interest love in the air right now. Like, people feel very passionately about this film. It's going to be probably the last film that they watched of, like, the big, best picture films, just because A24 decided to literally release it like a week before voting. But yeah, I don't know. I think that passion will funnel into zone. I really do. You talk. I have to let my cat in the room. Go.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if passion will just fall to zone in this particular category. There is clearly a lot of passion for zone of interest, but there's also undoubtedly a lot of passion for Oppenheimer that doesn't need evidencing. And I think when it comes to this sort of thing of recency, I think sure people may have seen Zone more recently, but when you're thinking about sound, I think it's hard just not to think about Oppenheimer when you think about the year. From like just having the Trinity Test scene back to back with that lectural scene or whatever, it's not only the best picture winner, it's a winner in sound in any other year if you're, unless you're Zone of Interest, and objectively one of the best use of sound ever in film. I think a lot of people will appreciate that, but Oppenheimer is the best picture winner and it has
Sure.
some of the best sound of the year. Therefore, I think these two things will just
It makes
conjoin
sense.
and
It
we'll
makes.
just get on.
I mean, I'm not gonna make an argument against this. Like, I
Yeah.
think Oppenheimer is the obvious choice, and it makes sense. But also, like, I don't know. I don't want to predict every tech category to be safe. Like, I think that is a bit risky to just go every tech category safe. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm seeing everybody in the chat. I mean, Zone losing Society of Snow at the Guild, sure. But this is just purely a vibes thing. Because you have to remember that is only the Sound Guild that is voting on that. This is going to be voted on by the broader Academy, which,
You
you
love
could say
Oppenheimer.
obviously loves Oppenheimer, but I do think that there will be enough people where it's, everybody who loves Zone of Interest. I could see it just funneling into this. Am I going to bring any logic to this argument? Absolutely not, because there is none. It is purely vibes based, and I want to take a swing in a tech category because I never like just playing everything safe with the text. I feel like that's
Yeah.
a dangerous. It's dangerous to do everything safe with the text. Best VFX. Oh, why?
I don't know why
Gold Derby's really think Godzilla. Okay, so I was on the Godzilla train for a bit. I've kind of given up on it. I do feel like it might just be the creator.
Yeah, I just think like there's been so much talk about the VFX, about the creator. Like that's the only thing people talk about with the film. Like people are like, yeah, we love Godzilla, and you're talking about the creator. Yeah, we love the creator VFX. And that's important when you're in a category like this, and when all of the other nominees aren't really elsewhere. I know Napoleon is technically elsewhere,
Yeah.
but like this is really the only category you're seeing these kind of films. I think it is important that the specific technical element you're nominated in is the specific technical element that is
And to
being
be fair, the
picked
creator
out.
did get a sound nom. The creator did get a sound nom.
Which also probably helps it a little bit. But yeah, and also just, I don't know, I think there is enough people have seen the creator. It was not underseen. Sure, it wasn't as well seen as Guardians or probably Mission Impossible or even
Yeah.
Godzilla. I think it's marginal, but Godzilla did make a bit more. But still, it's not an underseen movie. It's not like this would be a weird a weird win. And in the category, it's already been quite weird in terms of plucking out contenders. I don't know. It just kind of would fall to the creator.
I'm seeing some people say Napoleon because it got a production design nomination. I don't think that is a correlative thing, because it's the stat of like the visual effects winners like get a production design nomination. I don't think that matters that much. I feel like that's more of just the films that happen to win or to have really good visual effects also happen to have very good production design. But I don't think that they're necessary. It's not like voters are scrolling through their ballot and be like, what am I going to vote for visual effects? Well, I did see that Napoleon was in production design, so maybe I should go for that. Like, nobody's thinking like that. That isn't like a stat that we can really take on beyond just base level correlation. So yeah, and again, I can see a world where Godzilla takes this. Like, I don't think it's impossible. I think that it's I think probably the most beloved, like it's more beloved, I think, than the creator. It came out later. It's been having more of a moment recently. But I don't know. It feels very hard to go against the creator right now.
Yeah, and I think it was far enough ago where it was having its moment in like sort of late December-ish time, where I don't know if it is really if it does really have much momentum or much more momentum than the creator. I think they're sort of on fairly equal.
Sure. It says since it's installable narrative with the Oscars, how about we give this to Godzilla? Yeah, but the thing with that is that I'm not sure if people are aware of the narrative. Like, I don't think that the campaign has been orchestrated in such a way that it's all about like how they did so much with the VFX even though they had such a small budget. Like, people tried that narrative last year with Everything Ever All at Once and it didn't even get the nomination. Animated feature. We're gonna disagree again. I don't know. I'm feeling the vibes. I'm feeling Boy and the Heron. If I'm imagining like, they go up to present it, it's gonna be like one of the first categories of the night. I can just hear Hayao Miyazaki, Boy and the Heron. Like, this is one where I do think that people are very aware of the narrative. Like, I think that people are very, very aware of this narrative for Hayao Miyazaki, and I do think it will play in his favor, especially because like, it obviously wasn't as widely seen as Spider-Man, but it was very well seen, and it came out right at the end of the year. Like, Spider-Verse has been out for a while, and yes, that can help with building momentum, but I do think that there is so much love for Boy and the Heron right now, and Spider-Verse did very heavily underperform with nominations, so I don't know. It was also the first animated film, or the first international film to be nominated for PGA Animated, which I think is huge as well. Yes, Spider-Verse still won it, but Spider-Verse is always going to win PGA. The fact that Boy and the Heron was even nominated there, I think, is big. I think that this is really tight. I think it's really, really close. But I don't know. I'm leaning Boy and the Heron. I'm leaning Boy and the Heron off of like, vibes and narrative. Because again, I feel like Spider-Verse's stats, Boy and the Heron has vibes and narrative. Sorry.
I do agree with that, but I also think there is an important thing to mention that a lot of the Academy voters will be parents who are nominating what they've seen with their kids. How many of them would have seen Boy and Heron? How many of the older contingent of the Academy would have seen Boy and Heron versus would have maybe seen Spider-Verse with their kids, etc. And acclaimed, made so much money that I think it just still makes sense as a winner, even though Boy and the Heron has a lot going for it. This is really the only category in my mind that is a complete like 50-50 almost. I could 100% see Boy and the Heron winning.
Like, I think that Lily has more of an advantage over Emma than there is an advantage here.
Yeah. I think the only thing pushing me towards Spider-Verse is just thinking, all right, as an Academy voter, which one are they more likely to have seen and engaged with on a deeper level? Probably Spider-Verse in my mind. But
but I mean, it is a superhero sequel movie.
It is. The first one still won.
The first one still won, but I think that the first one didn't really have a real competition.
I don't know. I guess Incredibles 2 was also...
And I think it also surged at the right moment. Like, it came out in December, and it did surge at the very end. Whereas I feel like Boy and the Heron is the film that is surging now. But again, I also think that this is you flip a coin. It's a dead heat, 50-50. It could go either way. I would not be surprised by either. But yeah, I am just leaning Boy and the Heron. I think I am just ever so slightly, because again, I try to judge these off of stats, narrative, vibes, and I think that Spider-Verse has the stats, as people in the chat have been bringing up, but I do think that Boy and the Heron has narrative and vibes.
I think Boy and the Heron's got narrative. I just think vibes are on. It's a very weird way of quantifying Oscar predictions, but sure. Vibes are on the side of Spider-Verse.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair. Here, I don't think we're going to be disagreeing. It's 20 Days of Mariupol, quite obviously.
Yeah.
Like, it won everything, just like Navalny last year.
Stats. Exactly. You don't need any more than that, really.
Yep. This has stats, narrative, and vibes. Again, just obvious. What movie was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screen? It's Zone of Interest, quite obviously. I'm happy. I'm really happy that this is going to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
Like, Zone of Interest is going to be an Oscar-winning film. That's cool as hell.